Welcome to the Quiet Rewrite. This book is for the ones doing the quiet, invisible work of healing, the ones breaking patterns, softening scripts, and learning how to love themselves again. May these words be a mirror, a map, and a soft place to land. If you've arrived here, please know you are not alone, you are not too late, and you are exactly where you need to be. I'm Andi Queens, and together we step into this gentle journey.
To the siblings who carried the same pain differently. We all grew up in the same house, but we built different shelters inside us. Some of us got louder, some colder, some disappeared, and I began to ask questions. I know now it wasn't just me who hurt, it was all of us. We were just trying to be loved, in ways we didn't know how to name. Maybe we didn't protect each other like we should have. Maybe we became our own storms. But still, I see you. I remember us. And I'm here, reflecting, healing, so that love has a soft place to return to. Introduction. We all carry something. There are things we inherit that no one ever names. Not the heirlooms or the family stories passed down at gatherings, but the quiet, invisible things. The tone of voice. The way silence falls after a disagreement. The kind of love we believe we deserve. The things we were never told but felt anyway. These are the echoes of home. They live in the way we comfort others, or don't know how. In the way we speak to ourselves when no one else is listening. In the way our breath tightens when someone raises their voice. Or in the way we soften when someone listens with patience. We don't always realize it, but we carry the emotional rhythm of the households we came from. Some of us were taught that love sounds loud and full of laughter. Some of us learned that love is quiet and cautious. Something you earn, not something you're simply given. Some of us never heard the words, "I'm proud of you." Some of us never heard the words, "I'm sorry." But still, we carry it, all of it. This book isn't about blame. It isn't about pointing fingers or rewriting the past with resentment. It's about noticing. It's about becoming gently aware of what we've inherited, and what we're allowed to change. Because the truth is, you are not your inheritance. You are not just the product of your past. You are allowed to soften the tone, to pause before reacting, to rewrite the words in your head. You are allowed to build a new kind of home, even if it starts with just you. So this is a space of reflection, of noticing what shaped you, with tenderness, of letting go of what no longer feels like yours to carry, of keeping the good, the warmth, the wisdom, the parts that made you resilient, and releasing what doesn't belong in your next chapter. Take your time, there's no rush here. This is not a race to become healed, it's a quiet remembering of who you were before you learned to shrink. And maybe, just maybe, a soft returning to the voice you were always meant to have. You didn't choose the wound, but you're choosing the healing. The Quiet Rewrite. Chapter 1. The Unspoken Things We Inherit. What we don't say still teaches. The air we grew up in. Not everything we inherit is spoken out loud. Some things are passed down in a glance, a sigh, or the way the room fell quiet when tension entered. It's the way voices rose or didn't, the way apologies never came, or came in the form of food, not words. The way love was offered with conditions. Or not at all. These aren't memories we always remember, but our body does. Our nervous system does. The voice in our head does. Because home teaches us things without ever meaning to. And we don't just inherit eye color or cultural recipes. We inherit tone. Prim and me, timey just tone of voice asterisk. What was the tone of your childhood? Did love sound loud and obvious? Or was it quiet and hard to find? Were there words of encouragement, or mostly correction? Sometimes love came in lectures. Sometimes it was silence. Sometimes it was warmth. Sometimes it was worry disguised as control. As children, we don't question tone. We absorb it. And we often grow up believing that's the only way to sound. Until one day we hear ourselves, and realize we've carried the echo with us. Commonwealth emotional reactions. Asterisk. Every home has a rhythm for emotion. Some taught that anger was dangerous. Others made anger the only way to feel powerful. Some homes swallowed sadness. Some laughed too quickly to cover it. Some never allowed joy to last too long. Don't get too excited, they'd say, so we learn to mimic, to mirror, to mute. We learn when it's safe to feel, and when it isn't. And unless we pause to look gently, we often keep reacting the way we were taught, even if it doesn't feel right anymore. How we express, or withhold, love, love is the deepest echo of all. We learn how to give it by how we received it. We learn how to accept it by what we had to do to earn it. Some were praised for being helpful. Others were loved when they were quiet. Some were told love meant sacrifice. Some believed it meant proving themselves. And some never heard it said at all. So now, as adults, we might withhold it, or give too much of it, or not trust it when it arrives. But here's something tender to remember. Just because it wasn't modeled, doesn't mean you can't learn it. You are not too late. Not to speak to ourselves. Asterisk. One of the most powerful inheritances is the voice in your own mind. That running commentary, the one that critiques, calms, or comforts, often began outside of us. What did your caregivers say when you made a mistake? What words were used when you cried, fell short, or tried something new? Those phrases, they tend to become the scripts we replay until we catch them and choose a softer one. How we handle silence in conflict, asterisk conflict says a lot, but silence sometimes says more. In some homes, silence was safety. In others, it was punishment. Some families avoided conflict altogether. For others, it was the main form of communication. So now, maybe you shut down when someone's upset. Or maybe you rush in to fix everything. Maybe you withdraw, apologize, even when it's not your fault, or explode, because no one ever taught you how to talk about hard things. Whatever you do, it came from somewhere. And whatever you want to do differently, it's possible. A moment to reflect. What did you hear in your household about love, emotions, or mistakes? What didn't you hear that you wished you did? Trace the echo. Take a quiet moment. Breathe. You don't have to answer everything right now. Just begin, gently, honestly, and without judgment. What did you hear in your household about love, emotions, or mistakes? What didn't you hear that you wished you did? What tones or phrases do you notice yourself repeating? What emotional habits feel inherited? What do you wish had been different? And what do you want to do differently now? Let these reflections find a home in your own journal or notebook. Return to them whenever you feel called. There is no rush, only readiness. Gentle closing thought. You don't have to reject everything from your past to grow. You can hold it with love, name it with honesty, and decide what continues with you. The things we don't talk about still shape us, but they don't have to define us. You're allowed to speak differently now. To love differently. To feel safe in your own tone. Quote, reflection to end chapter 1 with stillness and strength. Not everything we carry was spoken out loud, but it shaped us, just the same. The quiet rewrite. We absorb the silence, the sighs, the subtle ways love was given, or withheld. These become our inner language, until we choose to rewrite it. Andi Queens. What wasn't said still lives inside us, but now, we get to speak differently. Unknown. Chapter 2. The patterns we repeat without realizing. Sometimes we become the very rhythm we once resented, not because we want to, but because it's what we knew. The quiet repetition of home patterns don't always announce themselves. They show up quietly, in the way we flinch at conflict, over-apologize, or brace for rejection even when no one's rejecting us. They appear in our relationships, parenting, and silence. We don't always realize we're repeating what hurt us. We might think we're just like this. But so often, we're echoing what was modeled, how arguments happened or were avoided. Every home has its own way of disagreeing. Some grew up with shouting, a storm that swept through the house. Others grew up with silence, tension so thick it was never named. Some learned to fight to be heard. Others learned safety in silence. So now, maybe you raise your voice without meaning to. Or shut down, even when you want to stay open. These reactions aren't flaws, they're inherited responses once meant to protect you. What protected you then might hurt your connections now. And you're allowed to choose differently. How praise or criticism shaped you. Were you celebrated for effort, or only for achievement? Were mistakes met with curiosity, or shame? Some homes believed in tough love. Some didn't affirm at all. Some praised success but ignored emotions. Some criticized and called it parenting. As children, we couldn't separate actions from worth. So if love came through praise, we might now chase validation. If it was conditional or absent, we may struggle to receive it. You are not fragile for wanting praise. You are human. You're allowed to rewrite how you affirm yourself. How apologies were modeled, or not, Did you hear "I'm sorry" growing up? If not, you might struggle to apologize, or overextend yourself in fear of being wrong. Maybe apologies were blame in disguise, or silence, gifts or grudges swept under rugs. Apologies aren't weakness, they're repair, and if you never received one, it makes sense to feel unsure about giving them, or trusting them. That's okay. You can learn. Be the first in your family to say, "That hurt you, I'm sorry." How affection was shown, or withheld. Did your home feel warm? Were there hugs, gentle touch, "I love yous"? Or was love practical and unspoken? Maybe affection was earned, or absent altogether. Now, you might crave closeness, but resist it. Or give love to others in ways you never give yourself. Or struggle to receive kindness because it feels unfamiliar. You're not broken, you're unlearning. Gentle insight. We don't just inherit traits, we inherit patterns. But patterns aren't destiny, they are blueprints you can choose to rebuild. Just because something was familiar doesn't mean it's forever. You can pause the cycle, interrupt the script, choose a new rhythm, one that feels like peace, not survival. Pause and reflect, take a breath, let your pen follow where your truth leads. How did your home handle conflict? What did that teach you? Were you affirmed for being, or only for achieving? Did you ever hear apologies? If not, how do you feel about giving or receiving them now? How was love expressed? Through words, actions, or not at all? What patterns do you notice, even if they don't feel right? There's no rush to answer everything now. These questions will wait for you, with patience and grace, until you're ready to meet them with truth and care. Closing whisper. If you feel like you've been living someone else's story, maybe it's time to gently take the pen into your own hand. You are not too late to change the rhythm. You are not too much for wanting something different. You are not disloyal for doing it your way. The past made you. But it doesn't get to make every decision for you. You are not hard to love. You were just taught love with conditions. Andi Queens. Chapter 3. The voice in our head. Where did it come from? The way you speak to yourself is the way someone once spoke around you. The echo we mistake for truth. There's a voice in your head. You know the one. The one that speaks up when you drop the ball, when you forget, when you're running late, when you get emotional, when you try something new. Sometimes it's soft, other times, it's sharp. But almost always, it sounds familiar. Because most of us didn't choose our inner voice, we inherited it. How your household taught you to talk to yourself. What were the words used when you made a mistake growing up? Were you met with, "It's okay, let's try again"? That must have been hard. "I'm proud of you. You don't have to get it perfect." Or did you hear, "What's wrong with you? Stop crying. You're being too sensitive. You should have known better"? Words don't just land, they linger. And eventually, they replay in our own minds. Self-doubt, self-criticism, or self-kindness. Your inner voice might be demanding. It might expect too much, too fast, with no room for grace. That voice didn't come from nowhere. It was shaped by years of feedback, silence, pressure, or praise. And if you tend to doubt yourself, second-guess your worth, or dismiss your feelings, it's not because you're weak. It's because you were taught to. That voice can sound like a parent, a teacher, a culture that praised productivity and punished pause, a fear that love would leave if you weren't good enough. But here's the truth. You are allowed to speak to yourself with warmth now. You are allowed to disappoint others and still be kind to yourself. You are allowed to fail without attacking your own heart. The power of noticing before you can change your inner voice, you must hear it. Not with judgment, just awareness. Try this. Next time you feel anxious or upset, pause and ask, "What am I saying to myself right now? Whose tone is this? Would I say this to someone I love?" That moment, the noticing is powerful. It's where change begins. Because awareness isn't weakness. It's the doorway to freedom. Questions to sit with. When you make a mistake, what does your inner voice say? Whose voice does that sound like? What words do you wish you had heard more often? If your inner voice were a person, how would they treat you? What would it feel like to speak to yourself the way you would to someone you deeply love? Let these questions meet you where you are. There's no pressure to answer them all at once. Just return when you're ready and reflect with gentleness. A gentle shift. You don't need to silence the voice in your head. You don't need to banish it, shame it, or fight it. You just need to meet it with something softer, something you never got, but always needed. Maybe today that softness sounds like, "It's okay to be human. You tried your best. You're still learning, and that's allowed. Your voice can become your home now, and it can be a kind one. Your kindness to yourself is not indulgent, it's revolutionary. The quiet rewrite. Healing affirmations for your inner voice. Read these slowly. Whisper them if you need to. Let them settle gently into your body. I am allowed to speak to myself with kindness. I am not the harsh words I once heard. My worth is not measured by how perfect I am. I release the voices that made me feel small. I choose to become a safe place for myself. It's okay to be learning. It's okay to need softness. I do not need to earn rest, love, or tenderness. My inner voice can change, and it is changing. I am patient with my process. I am healing, one gentle word at a time. Which affirmation do you need most today? Write it on a sticky note. Let it live with you for a while. Chapter 4. Choosing what to keep. Releasing what to change. Not everything we inherit is a wound. Some of it is wisdom. The things that helped us survive. It's easy to look back and only see what hurt, what was missing, what was unfair, what you wish had been different. And yes, it's important to name what didn't feel safe or loving. But healing doesn't always mean letting go of everything. Sometimes there was laughter between the silence. Sometimes there was care, just not spoken the way you needed. Sometimes the very things that hurt also made you strong. There is space to honor both. You can grieve what you didn't receive, and still be grateful for what held you up. Not everything we inherit is harmful. Maybe your caregivers didn't say I love you, but they showed up every single day. Maybe they didn't know how to comfort you, but they worked hard to keep the lights on. Maybe you weren't hugged often, but the meals were warm, and the roof never leaked. Sometimes love isn't fluent. It's practical. Sometimes affection is offered in quiet, steady acts. It doesn't excuse what hurt, but it helps you see the full picture. You are allowed to keep the good, to recognize the strength in those who raised you, without dismissing your needs. Gently releasing what no longer serves. Some of what we carry isn't ours to keep. The self-doubt, the fear of being too much, the guilt for resting, the need to prove your worth, the belief that love must be earned. Those patterns once protected you. But they're not required anymore. You can love the people who gave them to you, and still choose to put them down. Healing isn't about turning away in anger. It's about saying thank you for getting me this far. But I want to walk differently now. Giving yourself permission to sound different, love different, react different. You might not have grown up with warmth, but you can become a warm person. You might not have seen gentleness modeled, but you can choose to respond with softness. You might not have been told you were enough, but you can learn to tell yourself that, again and again. You're allowed to speak calmly, even if yelling was normal. Rest, even if hustle was praised. Apologize, even if no one ever apologized to you. Love openly, even if you were taught to hide it. You are not betraying your roots by growing beyond them. You are honoring them by evolving. Explore gently. What is something good you inherited from your family or home? What beliefs or behaviors once kept you safe but now feel heavy? What emotional habits feel like they no longer fit you? What are you proud to carry forward, and what are you ready to lay down? If your future household, even if it's just you, had a new emotional culture, what would it sound like? Let these reflections meet you with honesty and hope. Take your time. Let your thoughts land where they need to, in words, in stillness, or in slow discovery. Closing thought: some things will stay, some things will fall away. That's not rejection, that's discernment. Your emotional inheritance is a story, but you are the one holding the pen now. And you are allowed to write the next chapter differently. What I keep, what I release. A gentle inventory of your emotional inheritance. How to begin. Find a quiet moment. Take a breath. Think about what you learned, absorbed, or experienced growing up. Some of it helped you, some of it hurt. You are invited to reflect on what still supports your growth, and what no longer fits. Use a separate journal or notebook to complete your inventory. Making peace with old echoes. For each belief or message below, ask yourself, do I want to keep this, or am I ready to release it? Always show up for people. Don't talk about your feelings. Hard work matters. Rest is laziness. Mistakes mean you're a failure. Love is shown through food and service. Don't cry. It makes people uncomfortable. Apologies are a sign of weakness. Family comes first, even over your peace. And now, listen inward. Trace the rest of your own echoes. one breath at a time. When you choose what stays, what would it feel like to carry only what strengthens you and gently set down the rest? You are the cycle breaker, and that is sacred work. Andi Queens. Chapter 5. Rewriting your emotional inheritance. You didn't choose the script, but you can choose the next line. Becoming the first, you might be the first in your family to do this kind of work. The first to pause before yelling. The first to ask, how are you feeling? The first to apologize without excuses. The first to say, I need a moment, instead of pushing it all down. That doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're building something new. You are not erasing where you come from. You're editing the story, for you, and maybe for those who come after. Practical ways to shift your emotional inheritance. Change doesn't need to be dramatic to be powerful. It begins in the micro moments. When you make a mistake, pause, and speak to yourself with kindness instead of blame. When you feel overwhelmed, take a breath, and name what you're feeling instead of shutting down. When you're tempted to react automatically, ask, is this mine? Or is this something I inherited? These moments might not feel like much at first, but over time, they create a whole new emotional landscape, a home within you that feels safe to come back to. Speaking with warmth, to yourself and others. Maybe you didn't grow up hearing, I'm proud of you. You did your best. You don't have to be perfect to be loved. You can say those things now. You can be the one who speaks softly, even in hard moments. You can be the one who pauses, listens, softens, and responds with care. This doesn't make you weak, it makes you rooted, it makes you healing, it makes you human. And that warmth, it doesn't just stay with you, it ripples outward, creating a new household culture. Even if it's just with yourself, whether you live alone, with family, or with future generations, you are always creating culture. You are shaping the tone, the way you respond, the way you care for yourself when no one else is around. You are building a home inside of you that sounds like safety, not fear, curiosity, not judgment, warmth, not shame, rest, not guilt, love, not performance. That is no small thing. And the most beautiful part? You don't need permission to begin. Unfolding my new narrative. Take a pause and turn inward. These questions are an invitation, not an assignment. What does your current inner home feel like? What responses, phrases, or habits are you actively rewriting right now? When do you feel most emotionally safe, and what contributes to that feeling? What kind of emotional atmosphere do you want to live in, and offer to others? Finish the sentence. In my new story, love sounds like. Closing thought. You are not starting from nothing. You're starting from awareness, and that is everything. The more you notice, the more you soften, the more you speak gently to yourself and others, the more the story changes. You're not just healing yourself, you're healing the echo. And that matters more than you know. The Quiet Rewrite. A gentle practice to shift your emotional script, for use with a separate journal. Part 1. Awareness. Think of a recent moment when you felt triggered, hurt, or reactive. Describe it without judgment. What happened? What did someone say or do? What were you feeling? What was your first automatic response? This could be a thought, feeling, or reaction. Does this response feel familiar, like something you inherited or learned early on? Whose voice or pattern does it echo? Part 2. Rewriting. Take a breath. Now imagine that same moment, but this time, you respond as your healing self. What would you want your inner voice to say instead? Something kinder, more grounded. What would a safe, loving, emotionally aware version of you do in that moment? Part 3. Becoming the new echo. Complete these reflection prompts in your journal. In my new story, I speak to myself with, I am learning to respond with, one old belief I'm releasing is, one new belief I'm claiming is, if I could pass one emotional truth to the next generation, it would be. Closing note. You don't have to change everything at once. You only need to begin one soft, conscious moment at a time. Your quiet rewrite begins here. Even if no one claps for you, healing yourself is a standing ovation. The Quiet Rewrite. Conclusion. You are not your inheritance. You are not here to repeat. You are here to remember who you really are. There comes a moment in every healing journey when you pause and realize, I don't have to keep doing it this way. You notice the raised voice and lower yours. You feel the guilt and choose rest anyway. You hear the inner critic and whisper something softer. You feel the urge to shut down and instead stay open. It might feel small, but it's everything. Because every gentle interruption, every new response, every quiet moment of awareness, is you, becoming your own person. You are not what was modeled. You may not have chosen your first language of love. You may not have chosen the emotional atmosphere you grew up in. You may not have had a say in how silence, affection, or safety were handled. But you are choosing now, and that matters. You are not broken for wanting something better. You are not disloyal for doing things differently. You are not selfish for choosing softness, boundaries, or peace. You are not what happened to you. You are who you decide to become in the aftermath. Let the pattern end with you, or let it begin with you. Maybe you're the first to pause. Maybe you're the first to say, "I'm sorry." Maybe you're the first to hug without conditions. Maybe you're the first to say, "You don't have to earn love here." You are not repeating the past. You are responding with presence. That is sacred work, and if no one ever told you this before, you are allowed to sound different. You are allowed to love differently. You are allowed to be soft, even if the world wasn't kind to you. You are allowed to grow beyond the echoes you came from. And still, carry grace for the ones who gave them to you. A soft ending, a new beginning. You've reached this page not just by reading, but by remembering. And in case you need to hear it, again and again. You are not your emotional inheritance. You are allowed to write something new. You are the author now, and your story is still unfolding. Softly, beautifully, in your own way. A quiet becoming for the one who needed this. Perhaps home is not a place, but a return to the sound of your own voice. Kind, patient, and finally, yours. Andi Queens.
Thank you for listening to The Quiet Rewrite. If something within these pages felt familiar, if it gave shape to what you've carried in silence, please remember, you are not alone, you are not behind, you are not too much, you are not what happened to you. You are here, awake, aware, and doing the quiet work that may go unseen, but will always be deeply felt. And I hope you leave with one gentle knowing you can always return to yourself, again and again, with love, with softness, with a voice that finally feels like home. With you in this, I'm Andi Queens.